It was announced during that broadcast that Matt Mitrione is going to fight Fedor Emelianenko on February 18th in San Jose. And this is big time. Now, it was big time for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, Bellator has signed Fedor, multi-fight deal. That's a pretty nice coup. Second of all, he emerges wearing the sweater, which we have not seen for quite some time. Matt Mitrione actually pops for the sweater. They have a little tete-a-tete. Mitrione praises him. GSP's in the back taking pictures of them, Rory McDonald. This felt like a big deal. And I have to be honest, I was talking about this before with New York Rick. This fight against Mitrione feels like his most legitimate fight in, I don't know. There you see it. There's the picture. Sweater, Mitrione looking great. Suit, Jimmy Smith in the middle. I don't know what's going on with that poster in the back with Mitrione's face. Why is he so upset? What's with the eyebrows? But the sweater is just radiating. And so I kind of feel like if you look at Fedor's last fights, I think this is great matchmaking. This fight makes all the sense in the world. I don't know who to pick. I don't even know who's the favorite. Like, who would be the betting favorite in this fight? Most legitimate fight for Fedor since the Dan Henderson fight? I mean, he's coming off the Fabio Maldonado fight, which a little bit controversial. The judging was. Prior to that, the Jaideep Singh fight had, who do you have? Pedro Hizzo, Jeff Munson. This is the most interested I am in a Fedor fight since probably the Dan Henderson fight, and that was 5 years ago. That's pretty big. I love this fight. And so now we're being joined by Mitrione himself, gracing us with his presence. It has been tough to get Mitrione back on this program. You'd think, friend of the show, Mitrione Minute, all those weeks that we had him on back in the day, now he squeezes us in, just barely. He's joining us on the phone. Matt, are you there?
Just barely. Here. I'm sitting in a car with my teammates, and we're getting crazy in the car. We just got done sweating all over each other, and I'm making time for you today, buddy. But make it quick. Make it quick.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Oh, by the way, Coach Henry says, what's up, dude?
Coach Henry, if he could stop ducking me as well, I'd love to have him on the show too. So please relay that message.
I will do that, sir.
Okay, so we have a lot to discuss. Let me go through it here. You said you went out on the broadcast, and it was very fun how they brought you out. It felt big. It felt important. You said that you blindly signed this contract. You had no idea who your opponent was. Now, come on. Now, we're not on TV here. Is that true, Matt? Did you really do that?
That is 100% accurate.
Tell me how this happened.
They approached me. They said, hey, look, we've got a really interesting concept for you. And I said, okay, what's that? They said, we're going to offer you a fight. We have an opponent in mind. We're not going to tell you who, where, or when, but we think you're down enough to do it. And I said, okay, is it this month? Because it was a little bit ago. I was like, is it this month? And they were like 2 weeks left in a month. And they said, no, it's not. And I said, okay, I'm down. I was like, as long as it's an opponent that's worth my time, I'm down. And so what I was thinking, so then I signed it. But what I was thinking was that it was either going to be Shane Carwin or Rampage, or possibly Karatanov. I didn't, because what I heard that Fedor was having issues with M1, and that M1 wouldn't let him go, or they couldn't do a co-promotion or something like that. So I didn't think Fedor was even an option. I was always kind of training for Karatanov, but when that came up, and I realized that Karatanov was already in it, and he just lost, it wasn't him. So I was like, well, maybe it'll be Rampage, or maybe Carwin. But awesome, I got Fedor, man.
And so, I mean, you're new to Bellator, you've looked good so far, you're on this roll. Why would you agree to a fight you don't know who the opponent is? Like, is that smart?
Well, I really feel like I can fight anybody.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if they're a wrestler, it doesn't matter if they're a striker or a judoka or whatever. I feel like when I'm in shape and I'm ready to go, I'm one of the best fighters in the world. And any given day, I could be the best fighter in the world. And I mean, right now I'm kind of soft and chubby and a little bit bloated from drinking too much alcohol for a while. But as of right now, so I'll get my butt kicked anywhere. But and by February 18th, I feel like I'll be just as good as I've ever been when I'm the best I've ever been. Did you follow that? I'll be as good as I have ever been when I'm as best as I've ever been.
Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, as you know, Flow Combat reported that this fight was in the works. Didn't that tip you off?
Well, see, I didn't. I've seen, especially when it comes to Fedor, like he's famously skittish, right? Like he's very secretive. He's famously skittish. And if that was the case, I would have heard about it before then. And I didn't. And that's why I was like, well, maybe this is just some kind of a rumor, because everybody wants Fedor to come back.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and they want him to be on a big stage because everybody loves Fedor. He's Fedor. So, I didn't really give it too much credence and credibility. But, kind of it is what it is. And apparently they were right.
And I believe you, by the way. I'm trying to unpack this because your reaction actually seemed very genuine. And I loved your reaction to the sweater. Right away, that was almost like your first comment, that he wore the sweater. So you didn't see him in the back or anything. And when you came out there and they announced him, that's when you found out for the first time that you're fighting Fedor.
That was when I found out I was fighting Fedor.
That is
in that situation, and dude, like when he walked out in the sweater, I was like, oh my God, he's wearing the sweater. Like that's like when I shook his hand, I was like, dude, I was like, nice sweater.
You know what I was reminded of in that moment, because I thought you were very respectful towards him, but I was reminded of our old friend Pat Barry when he fought Mirko Cro Cop. And in hindsight, people said that Pat was too respectful to Mirko. He didn't have that killer instinct. He was a little easy on him. Is this something you have to get, because clearly you respect the guy a lot. Is this something that you're going to have to work on? You're fighting Fedor, an idol, a legend, arguably the greatest ever. Is it possible that you respect him a little too much going into the fight?
No, there is not a situation. The only time I ever had a problem fighting anybody was Brendan Schaub. And Brendan is a good friend of mine. But I can tell you now, I'll have, and I say this with as much respect as possible. And I'm not even trying to sell a fight. I will have no problem trying to throw my fist through Fedor's face. None. Like that's my job. That's what I'm getting paid for. That's why they brought us two together, is because we're both exciting ass fighters. Fedor's a huge legend and a massive name, and I'm in the process of trying to make myself a legend. So I will have no problem throwing hands on him and doing as much damage as possible to try to steal any kind of reputation he has and put it on my own.
How do you feel about him at this point? Do you feel like he's, over the hill? Do you feel like he's not the same guy? Did you watch his performance against Fabio Maldonado? And if so, did that sort of confirm those beliefs, if you do believe that?
I did not watch. I don't really watch fights a whole lot anymore, so I did not watch his fight against Fabio. I've heard plenty about it. And honestly, he took a couple years off, right? So I think those are probably kind of tune-up fights. I would expect to see the best Fedor possible when I fight him. I think he's had a couple of times get back in, knock off the rust, get used to the adrenaline dump, get used to taking punches and moving around again, and the excitement of it. Hell, Fedor even cracked a smile when we were doing a stare down, a face-off. So, I think it's just kind of getting back in the swing for him, and I think he'll get used to it. I'm sure he'll be back on the grind, and he'll be his absolutely murderous Cabbage Patch Kid self here pretty soon.
By the way, out of curiosity, why don't you watch fighting as much anymore?
I feel, you know me, I'm the son of a psychiatrist. I think entirely too much.
Yes.
So I feel that I'm surrounded by violence all the time during my regular day. And I feel that if I watch even more violence at home, it doesn't give me a chance to escape it and become dad. And I want to have that separation so I can have my regular life. And I feel like when I don't whip my kids, I don't put my hands on them out of anger, but I have a temper, and I'm at times I'm quick to pop off, and so I'm doing my best to limit the amount of violence in my life. And so when I go home, it's Matt the dad, or it's Matthew the dad versus Matt the fighter.
So will you even watch? Now that you know that you're fighting him, will you watch these fights, or do you not like to watch anything as you prepare for fighting because you don't want to put more of that into your brain?
So I used to watch tons of film all the time, critique myself, which I do all the time. I'm my hardest critic, like everybody should be, I believe. But when it comes down to watching film, I used to watch a lot of it, and then I kind of found myself in a position where it was, and this is a football term, it was paralysis by analysis, where I find myself waiting to see what he's going to do, so I've seen on film, so I can do the counter that we've practiced because I know he's going to do this. And then I was like, wait a minute, dude, I'm the wild card here. I'm the variable. I'm the one who is long, athletic, rangy, creative, unorthodox, and weird. Why am I watching what somebody else is going to do? Because they're going to react to everything I do differently because I'm not the normal one. So that kind of really modified my perspective and my approach on fighting. So, excuse me. So to answer your question, Will I watch some film? Maybe. But my training partners and Coach Henry, like Butta, Charles, Coach Henry, and everybody down here in Florida, where I'm at now, will watch plenty of film for me, and they'll get me ready, and they'll do everything I need to do.
What happened in the back when you guys went to the back? Anything that we missed? Did you talk to him a little more? What'd you say to Scott Coker for giving you this fight? I mean, this is the biggest fight of your career. This is a very big deal.
Yeah.
It shows how much they have, faith in you. You're relatively new to the promotion, signed not that long ago. Anything that we missed once you guys got away from the cameras in the back?
Well, I changed my clothing, so he was like, "Dude, you're really underdressed now." I started clowning my attire, and then we thumb wrestled. So other than that, it was pretty cool.
Ooh, you and Fedor?
Yeah, I'm totally joking.
Oh, okay.
But he was cool enough that I bet he would have thumb wrestled if I had approached him.
Wow. So there was no interaction at all? You didn't ask him about where he got the sweater? That's what I really want to know. Where did he purchase this sweater? Because you can't find it anywhere.
Didn't he tell you at one point in time that when he retires from the game, he's going to give you the sweater?
Thank you for remembering that. He did. I should have it on this set. He did tell me that, point blank.
I think that showed you that he wasn't truly retired. He didn't give it to you. So look, maybe that's something we do. Maybe that's something that we're getting a multiple fight deal. So like after I win, which I'm confident and borderline arrogant, so I do believe I'm going to win. After I win, maybe we put it on the line that I get to take the sweater.
Yes, you should have it. Should be like old school WCW where it's hanging from a pole. The winner grabs the sweater.
Yes, if I could think of something that rhymed with pole that had to do with fighting, I would do it for sure.
I'm not being an a-hole here, but it's almost more prestigious than the Bellator heavyweight title at this point.
I'll tell you what, there's nobody has a heavyweight title right now, so they might be one and the same. If I grab it and I tie the sweater around my waist, I think that could do it.
Why not make this?
What if he walks out to the fight in the sweater?
That would be incredible.
Sweater of absolute victory. That would be overwhelming.
Almost as nice as those Reebok kits.
Hey, you know I was just in Israel just a little bit ago.
Yes, I'm going to get to that in a second, but I just want to know, why isn't this for the heavyweight title?
I believe that Mr. Coker has a couple of plans on what he wants to do and how he wants to do it.
Okay.
And the man is really good at what he does. I trust him. I don't think there's anything sideways about what he does. So whatever he wants to do, I'm diggity down for. As long as the checks don't bounce, and Viacom checks don't bounce, son.
Is it a tournament?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Ask Mr. Coker.
You seem, and the reason I was thinking this, because I saw you doing the interviews in Tel Aviv. They have you doing post-fight stuff. They have you doing stuff on the web. Just looking at you, you seem very happy. You seem like the change of scenery, the new life, the new promotion, the new bosses, it seems to have affected you very positively. You just seem to have a constant smile on your face. Is this accurate?
I am extremely happy. Slightly bloated, chubby boy. I'm very, very happy. They've given me a lot of freedom. They've really let my personality blossom, which I think is really cool. And one of the things that when anybody asks me about my feelings on the UFC versus Bellator, is that Bellator is really, Scott Coker is really in the process of building the brand of Bellator off of the fighters' name. He wants to have stars there. He wants to have people there that have a draw power. And so it's never been Bellator over everybody else. It's been, hey, look, let's publicize these people that we really are interested in. We want to put our money behind and support them. And then via that, our brand will grow, in a grassroots way. And I respect that. And I think that's why they've really seen that. And that's my biggest opinion, where the UFC is the biggest thing to them versus the fighter. The UFC changed it to where the onus of promotion is on the fighter's shoulders now versus them. They just put on events now. And Bellator is the opposite. They still promote. They get in there. They do a lot of grassroots work. And it sucks too, man. Like, for example, did you watch, I'm sure you did, I shouldn't ask, did you watch the Ben Henderson and Michael Chandler fight?
Maybe the best fight of the weekend, I thought.
Dude, freaking extraordinary. Yeah. What an incredible fight. And so from that, I saw people talking mad-ish about Benson, being like, oh, he's a washout. He's a has-been that never really was. I'm like, dude, how can you watch that type of fight and then talk ish about somebody? I just didn't understand it. And then you got to realize that there's just UFC fanboys. That's just what it's going to be, and it's never going to change. And, once you kind of get over the enamoring of the UFC letters, and it's just people getting down and fighting for paychecks, and then you got to respect it or not.
Has the experience thus far gone better than you thought it was going to?
It's been a really pleasant experience. I expected good things. I've heard a lot of great things about Mr. Coker, and really like with Scott Kogan and Mr. Chow and everything, dude. It's been great. And the cool part is too is that I've been fortunate enough to do some commentary and some production side of stuff. So I've really seen the grind that the producers, TV, camera crews go through, and I've got to know them as well. So I really feel like I've become part of the institution that is Bellator versus just being a fighter that shows up, stays in a hotel room and goes and fights and goes back home. I'm getting to know everybody and the ins and outs. So I think that's a really cool part of it.
So you feel like there's a noticeable difference backstage, the relationship between the promotion and the fighters from when you were in the UFC? You can feel that right away?
Yeah, but that's actually a really interesting perspective because it's different. Hold on a second, I'll get my bag out of the side. It's different because it's not as tight of a ship as the UFC is when it comes down to like backstage, like the 5 minutes and everybody knows exactly when they're going on and how they're going on. It's a little bit of a looser ship, which it takes a little bit getting used to.
Okay.
But it's also a pretty cool experience because there's not as much anxiety, tension. It's just, hey, dude, we're going to be fighting around this time. Start getting your stuff ready or not, either way.
Do you have a lot of fighters from the UFC contacting you, asking you how it's going? What's it like? Your thoughts?
I do. I have a lot of guys with some pretty substantial names. I have a lot of guys that are just kind of coming around that, like not many people have my phone number, So like they'll contact me on Twitter, on direct message or Instagram direct message and be like, hey, dude, like, tell me about this, man. What's really going on, and how do you feel about this, or why do you feel that way? And so there's interest for sure. It's like you said, man. It's just the process of no longer being enamored by the letters and kind of doing your own homework. For some people, the UFC might be a better fit for them. For me, it wasn't, and maybe that's because I have more of a personality. I'm more of a mouthpiece, and I realized I could grow over here.
I'm always impressed by you. I was really impressed when you showed up to that PFA meeting back in August because they've made it clear that they're only catering towards UFC fighters. You're no longer a UFC fighter, but you showed great interest. And in fact, only one other fighter showed up, a UFC fighter, Leslie Smith, but you were asking questions, you were engaged, you really seemed to care about everything. And I don't know if that's because you were in the NFL and you've been a part of something like that before, but I thought it was very impressive on your part. And so I'm wondering, 3 months later, how do you feel about all of this? This has become one of the stories of the year. You as a free agent, one of the stories of the year. The rise of this talk associations, one of the stories of the year. What do you think? What do you think about how it's evolved? Are you confident it's going to happen? Does it need to happen? Your thoughts?
I feel that it definitely needs to happen. We are getting absolutely taken advantage of, but it's our fault. It's our fault that we're getting taken advantage of. There was a situation in which I had a fight in Montreal when I fought Kimbo. And I had a sponsor that was going to pay me I think it was like $7 or $8 grand or something like that for a spot on my shorts. And then the day before the day that we had to do weigh-ins, they came back and said, "Hey, we're not gonna sponsor you. We got this other name, who was a bigger name than me, to do it for $500 because they needed a spot filled." That's a microcosm of what's going on in the UFC. We can't undercut ourselves and take the easiest offer, the best offer, because we don't want to piss the UFC off. We need to be, hey, look, dude, I got kids. This is what I need here. Like, I need this much money. And this is the reason why I need this much money. And if they say no, then leave. Then go to Bellator, and then you need to check out your options. I think that's just the only thing that makes sense out of that. So do I think it's going to happen? Eventually, yes. Do I think it's going to take bad stones for people to be like, hey, man, this is my negotiating tactic. This is how it's going to work. And then I think it's hard to do that on your own, but I think it's easier to do it when you get people to band together. And the fact that you can go online and you can sign an online petition to get your what do you call it? Your union card, and it's anonymous. I think that makes it easier. So everybody in the world, like people down in Brazil or Eastern Europe or whatever, can do all this. They can do it all by themselves now. We don't have to be in a room. It doesn't have to be physical. It can be online. I think it makes it easier. And it's just for the conversation. And as soon as we get, like I believe it's like 30% of the signatures of the active people in the UFC, well, then there has to be an overall league organization vote to try to get that. I believe it's like 50 or 80% of the total vote to get a union put in place. So I believe it's something that has to happen. I believe that people are afraid of the retribution and repercussion of speaking out. And that's one of the things I'm really proud of Leslie for. Like Leslie she's got mad stones, man. Like she stepped in there and asked questions and was very proactive about a lot of that stuff when a lot of guys didn't want to. But once you do it, they text you and they hit you up and be like, hey, how do you feel about this? What's going on here? How did this go? How do you feel about that? Why is it going to be that way?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. It just has to happen. That's all.
As we wrap this up, are you staying in Florida up until the fight?
No, I will not. I have my kids every other week, so I'm going to be bouncing back and forth from Florida and Indiana, and make sure I can still be dad. And but I'll be down here quite a bit. And then when it gets closer to scrap date, like about a month out or something like that, I will most likely be here more than just a week at a time.
Biggest fight of your career?
Oh, hands down, for sure. But every fight's the biggest fight of your career, right? As soon as you lose, nobody cares about you.
That's true. But this feels big. This feels important. I mean, do you agree that it's his biggest fight, his most interesting fight since the Hendo fight in 2011?
I would like to say that because I'm involved in it and I'm arrogant. But it'll most likely be one hell of a scrap. And like I said, I expect the most out of Fedor. And that's the thing. He's a freaking legend, man. Everybody wants this opportunity. This is the reason why I left for situations like this.
Yep.
Can't wait.
Well said. I'm very happy for you. Congratulations on gaining the fight. Great stuff on Saturday. Good luck in preparation and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, Matt.
Most of you too, buddy. Love you. Take care of yourself. You're doing a great thing, buddy.
Thanks, man. There he is, Matt Mitrione, Meathead. He fights Fedor Emelianenko February 18th, San Jose, California. I believe that's Bellator 172. They should get rid of the numbers. The numbers don't mean anything at this point. Just call it, Bellator Fedor versus Mitrione, something like that. The numbers, very confusing. But that's a great fight. I love that fight. That's one of their most interesting main events. It means something. It's good matchmaking. That's good stuff right there. So Fedor's first fight for Bellator officially will be February the 18th against Matt Mitrione.